You do not join the Yakuza in secret, you join in a ceremony. There is sake, there is ritual, there is a senior member who pours the cup and a junior member who receives it, and a set of words exchanged that have been exchanged the same way for over 300 years. The oyabun, the boss, sits at the head of the room. You bow. You are welcomed as a koban, a child, into a family that will define every remaining hour of your life. This is the first thing that separates the Yakuza from every other criminal organization in the world. They do not hide. The Yakuza are, technically speaking, legal in Japan, not their crimes, their existence. There are Yakuza offices with nameplates on the door, business cards, organizational charts filed with the National Police Agency, membership pins worn on jacket lapels. At their peak, the Yakuza had over 180,000 members across Japan. They operated construction companies, real estate firms, entertainment agencies, financial services. They had offices in every major city and political connections that reached into the highest levels of Japanese government. They were the world's largest and most transparent criminal organization. And you are now one of them. You are 22 years old. You grew up in Osaka, in a neighborhood called Nishinari, which is the closest thing Japan has to a place where the social contract has been quietly allowed to expire. Your father left when you were 3. Your mother worked 2 jobs and was present on weekends. You were raised mostly by the street, which in Nishinari means you were raised mostly by men who were already inside. School was something that happened to other people more successfully than it happened to you. You left at 16. You worked construction for 2 years. The foreman on the site was connected. He introduced you to someone. Someone introduced you to someone else. The someone else took you to a room and asked you 3 questions and poured you a cup of sake. That is how it works. You do not find the Yakuza. The Yakuza finds you when you are already in the right place to be found. Your first years are at the bottom. In the Yakuza, this is called being a shate, a younger brother. You do what you are told. Carry bags. You drive cars. You stand outside rooms where meetings happen and make sure the wrong people do not walk in. You collect debts from people who borrowed money from loan sharks your organization controls. Debt collection in the Yakuza is not what you see in American movies. There is very little violence. Violence is messy. Violence attracts police attention. Violence is, in the Yakuza's philosophy, a failure of professionalism. The preferred method is presence. You show up at someone's home or workplace with 1 or 2 other men. You are polite. You are formally dressed. You explain calmly that the debt is due and that you will be returning regularly until it is settled. You leave a business card. The business card is the threat. In Japanese society, where reputation and social standing are load-bearing structures of daily life, the appearance of Yakuza at your door is catastrophic. Your neighbors see, your employer may hear, your family becomes aware. The social cost of being publicly associated with an outstanding debt to organized crime is in many cases more destructive than any physical harm. You collect debts efficiently, your oyabun notices, you are promoted. Here is the structure you are moving through. The Yakuza operates on a strict hierarchical system called the oyabun-kobun, the parent-child relationship. Every member has a father figure above them and potentially children below them. The obligation runs both ways. The oyabun provides protection, income, identity, and belonging. The kobun provides loyalty, labor, and absolute obedience. The major Yakuza organizations are called Kumi or Kai. The largest is the Yamaguchi Gumi, headquartered in Kobe, with at its peak over 30,000 members and affiliate organizations across Japan and connections in Asia, the United States, and Europe. Below the top organization are regional chapters called Kumi. Below those are individual offices called Jimusho. You belong to a Jimusho in Osaka with 48 members. Your daily life is structured around the office. You report in the morning. You receive your assignments. You carry them out. You report back. It is, in its rhythms, remarkably similar to an ordinary job. The violence, when it comes at the edges of the ordinary. Year 2. Your organization has a dispute with a rival group over a construction contract. The Yakuza business disputes between organizations are handled through a process called chote mediation. Senior members from both sides meet with neutral third-party bosses from other organizations. Arguments are made, compromises are offered. The goal is resolution without conflict because conflict is bad for business and bad for the relationship with law enforcement that the Yakuza has maintained for decades through careful management. The chote breaks down. When chote breaks down, what follows is called a conflict. But it does not look like war. It looks like targeted pressure. A rival's construction site has an accident that delays the project by 3 weeks. A rival's loan shark office has its windows broken at 3 in the morning. A senior rival member is confronted outside a restaurant and his jacket is cut with a knife. His jacket, not him. The jacket is the message. You participate in 2 of these actions. You do not think of them as violence. You think of them as business communication using a different medium. This is the Yakuza's philosophical framework for what it does. They are not criminals who occasionally do business. They are businessmen who occasionally use methods that fall outside the legal definition of commerce. The distinction matters to them deeply. It is, you will understand later, also the most elegant self-deception in the history of organized crime. Year 3. You get your tattoo. Yakuza tattoos are called irezumi. They are not like Western tattoos. They cover the body in full suit patterns, from shoulders to ankles, leaving the hands and a strip down the center of the chest bare. A full suit takes years and costs more than most people earn in a decade. The pain is significant and sustained. The ink is applied by hand with traditional needles, not machines. You begin yours on a Tuesday morning in a tattoo master's studio in Namba. You will return 61 times over the next 4 years to complete it. The tattoo is not decoration, it is a permanent declaration. It marks you as a member as completely and irrevocably as any document. With a full irezumi, you cannot enter most public baths in Japan, most beaches, many gyms, some hospitals. The tattoo closes doors in the ordinary world as permanently as it opens doors in yours. You understand this when you begin anyway. The tattoo is your answer to the question of which world you belong to. You are stating it permanently, on your own skin, in a language that cannot be revised. Year 4, the laws change. In 2011, Japan passes the Organized Crime Exclusion Ordinances. One by one, every prefecture in Japan implements regulations that make it illegal for ordinary businesses to transact with designated organized crime groups. Banks cannot open accounts for Yakuza members. Real estate companies cannot sell to them. Construction firms cannot subcontract to them. Even ordinary citizens can be penalized for doing business with them. This is the most significant legal challenge the Yakuza has faced in its modern history. And it works. Membership in the Yamaguchi Gumi drops from 30,000 to less than 10,000 within a decade. Offices close, revenue streams dry up. Members who spent their lives inside a structure that gave them identity, income, and belonging find themselves holding a membership card that has become a liability in every direction. You feel this change in the daily texture of the work. Contracts that used to flow through your office's construction connections stop coming. Loan shark clients who used to pay through legitimate business accounts now pay in cash only, making the volumes harder to manage and easier to trace. The city of Osaka, which once tacitly accepted your office's presence as a kind of shadow social management in Nishinari, now officially cannot acknowledge you exist. Your Oyabun calls a meeting. He explains that the organization must adapt. He explains that the traditional revenue model, construction, real estate, entertainment, loan sharking, is under sustained legal pressure. He explains that new revenue streams are necessary. The new revenue streams are methamphetamine and fraud. Yakuza involvement in methamphetamine is not new. They have distributed it for decades. But the scale increases significantly as legal revenue collapses. Fraud operations, particularly targeting elderly Japanese citizens through phone scams called or saji, become a primary revenue source for organizations that once ran legitimate businesses. You make calls for the fraud operation. You pretend to be a grandson in trouble. You tell elderly people they need to send cash immediately to resolve an emergency. Many of them do. The first time you do this, you feel something. The something does not go away immediately. It fades over time. The fading is its own information, and you know it, and you file it in the place where you keep that kind of information. Year 6. You have a Koban of your own now, a 20-year-old from the same neighborhood you grew up in. He looks at you the way you once looked at the men above you. With a specific combination of fear and wanting, that is the emotional signature of someone who has found a place to belong in a world that was not offering them anywhere else. You teach him what you were taught: presence over violence, reputation over farce. Obligation runs both directions. You teach him the codes and the rituals and the hierarchies. You teach him how to collect a debt by leaving a business card. You do not teach him about the or saji calls. You do not teach him what the fading feels like. Some things you learn alone. Year 7. A journalist publishes an investigation, not about your office specifically, about the fraud operation broadly. He has documented hundreds of cases of elderly victims. He has names, amounts, phone records. He has photographs of Yakuza-connected individuals who ran the call centers. The National Police Agency uses the investigation to justify a crackdown. 12 arrests across 3 organizations. 2 are from your office. You are not arrested. You are careful. You are always careful. But 2 of the men arrested are men you have known for 7 years. One of them is your closest friend inside the organization. He receives 4 years. You visit him once before sentencing. You sit across from him in a visiting room. He tells you the organization will take care of his family while he is inside. He says this with complete confidence because it is the one thing the Yakuza has always done without exception. The Oyabun Koban obligation. You take care of your people. 3 months into his sentence, the office's finances deteriorate enough that the monthly payment to his family is reduced by half. You make up the difference yourself for 8 months, then you cannot afford to anymore. You tell his wife in person. She nods. She thanks you for what you did. She does not cry. Wives of Yakuza members learn early that crying about money is a luxury the situation does not offer. Year 9. You are 31 years old. You have a full irezumi that took 4 years to complete. You cannot enter a public bath. You cannot open a bank account in your own name. You cannot sign a lease, get a loan, or engage with any formal financial institution. You cannot get most jobs because the background check surfaces your association, and the organized crime exclusion ordinances make you radioactive to any legitimate employer. You have built, over 9 years, a life that exists entirely inside a structure that has been systematically cut off from every formal system in Japanese society. You are not in prison. You are not dead. You are not, by any external measure, in crisis. But you are standing in a neighborhood in Osaka, outside an office with a nameplate on the door, and you are doing the math on the next 20 years of your life, and the math is not working out the way it was supposed to. The structure promised you belonging, income, identity, and protection. It delivered the belonging. The identity is on your skin permanently. The income has been declining for 4 years and shows no sign of reversing. The protection is real, but the thing it protects you from is increasingly the organization itself, which is under pressure and shedding members who have become more expensive than useful. You think about the 20-year-old you are mentoring. You think about what you are teaching him. You think about the sake ceremony and the business card and the 61 sessions with the tattoo needle and the calls to elderly people and your friend's wife nodding without crying. You think about what you would do differently. You think about this for a long time. You do not have an answer. That is the most honest thing you can tell yourself at 31. You do not have an answer, but you are, for the first time in 9 years, asking the question, this story is fiction. But the Yakuza are real and their decline is real, and it has not made Japan safer. When organized crime structures collapse without replacement, the vacuum does not stay empty. It fills with smaller, less structured, more violent groups that lack the Yakuza's institutional interest in maintaining social order. Researchers who study organized crime call this the paradox of suppression. You cannot simply eliminate a criminal organization. You have to eliminate the conditions that made it necessary. Japan has not done that yet. Neither has anywhere else. If this one stayed with you, drop a comment, subscribe. The next story is already waiting.